Hi guys. Okay, so the quote that I chose reminded me of Suri's speech that she gave earlier about how it's important to have a best friend and different activities that you can do with your friends. So the quote is, "Friendship is a plant we must often water," by a German proverb. The way I see it is, if you have a relationship with someone, a friendship, it's important to work at it, to keep the friendship alive. And I don't have different examples, I just have this one personal example. Growing up, I had 3 other best friends. We grew up together, we went to elementary school together, we went to junior high together, and then once it came down to high school, everybody just kind of went their separate ways. I ended up moving to Riverside. Another friend of ours, she moved out to Hemet, and then 2 of my other friends just stayed out here in Orange County. So by everyone going their separate ways, it was really hard for us to maintain our friendship. Like, we obviously didn't see each other as often. We were so used to being with each other all the time. We did everything together. We went to birthday parties together. We grew up together. Our moms knew our moms. So it was really hard. At least for me, it was really hard. And but whenever we did see each other, like Suri said, with her friend from Ohio, we just picked up where we last saw each other. So for us to maintain our friendship going and keep that connection, I offered to drive out to Hemet to see her and her family. We spent a weekend together. Some of my friends, the 2 friends from Orange, they would drive up to Riverside and we would spend another weekend together. So things like that, it just maintained our friendship and kept it strong. But we had to work at it. It wasn't easy. And now, we're all in college, obviously. And again, everybody has their own lives. One of my friends goes to Cal State Fullerton now. She's almost graduating. And then another friend of mine, she is off at SEC, so I hardly get to see her. And one of them is actually in Mexico. She got married last month. So, and it's just weird, like, to see how our lives have all changed so drastically. But whenever we do get the chance to get together, sit down, have lunch, it's like we're in elementary school all over again. We talk about memories and moments that we remember about some event at school or that birthday party that we went together. And but it wasn't easy. It hasn't been easy, but working at it, it's totally made it worth it, because I don't see them as my best friends now. They're part of my family, they're part of my life, they're a big part of my life. And so in conclusion, if you guys have had some similar experience to this, or have had a friendship like this, and you guys don't talk anymore, think about it. If the friendship was important to you at one point, it's totally worth working at it and making the friendship last. Yeah.
Right. Should get some of that going on.
All right, Sheila, there are a lot of things that are going nicely here. I like the attention device. You've got a good transition to the topic. There's no structure that you set up in the speech. You've got an advantage because you're going to be talking about this group of friends that you have, and you'll have particular illustrations that you can go to and talk about. The consequence is that you seem engaged, it feels very natural, but it does sometimes wander around a little bit, and there's not a reason that we're talking about one thing in front of another. There's not any particular rhyme or reason to why we're talking about those kinds of things. It doesn't sound disjointed, but I think it would sound more coherent if there was a plan. So for instance, if you stuck with the chronological thing and you just said, well, let me talk about what it was like when we were kids together and we were all together. Then let's talk about what happened when we all ended up separated from each other. And then finally, let's talk about how we've maintained that friendship even though we aren't going to the same schools and living in the same places, and what's our status now. You almost have that kind of a structure there, but you bounce back and forth between those points. So that's the only thing that I think is problematic, because you've got lots of things to talk about. You're just talking about your natural experiences with your friends, and I thought that worked pretty well. On the presentation issues, I think your voice projects well. There's good variety in your voice. You usually get emotional content that's going on in there. I like that. The pacing and the rhythm drops off occasionally when you get stuck for the next idea, but that wasn't a big deal. It was just, like I said, a natural sort of thing. I think the gestures you've got very good indicators. They seem natural while you're speaking there. Your facial expressions, you look animated and involved, and like I said before, I think there's good emotional conveyance of those ideas with your facial expression. Your eye contact is a little inconsistent because you do look at us quite a bit, but I tell you what, I can tell every single time that you're stuck for an idea, because the first thing that happens is you go right to the ceiling. It's like you're talking to us, and then it's like your eyes roll up to the ceiling, and then or drop down to the ground, and it's like one of those giveaway things. Again, very good with what you're doing, but that's one of those things that you want to watch for and maybe be a little bit more in control over. Your posture was fine. I didn't think there was any anxiety. You talked about being nervous earlier before class started. You didn't look nervous at all. You looked like you were having a good time. You're going to say, I could keep talking about my friends. You'll be happy to talk about them. And I thought you did a nice job finishing up as well. All right, thank you all for